Okay, I am not seeing a picture of Jeff.
That's why.
Also,
So welcome to House Rule, a podcast about role playing. No, shut up. We're going.
Okay, fine.
We're
This
bubbling.
episode has no number. This episode has no name.
It does have a number. It's bonus 1.
No.
give it a name.
I'm taking that back. Take backs.
All right.
Okay.
This is a bonus episode.
We said we're doing this without rules, so take backs
we
are
are
totally in
se-
effect.
We are sacrificing to the gods of math errors past.
Yes.
Due to the lacuna in episode numbers, we're just gonna throw this one in extra bonus, and in accordance with that policy, we are also not going to try very hard, which might surprise you greatly if you're just now realizing that we've been trying.
It's like a 2-for-1, but the
Yeah.
second one's kind of like half off in the first place.
I always try.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a one half off kind of dented name brand one, and one like off brand one that's also dented. That's what you get with this podcast.
Why does the off-brand one have to be dented? Isn't the
I
fact
just wanted
that
to make sure
they're-
I just wanted to make sure they knew they were getting 60%.
Okay. All right, gang. All right.
No, it's gonna
We
be
are
awesome.
we actually have like a pretty sweet little activity. I mean, it's sweet to me. I've been looking forward to this for a while. A little activity game,
Literally
thought
months.
exercise planned,
Yep.
where we're gonna propose sometimes wacky hypothetical games to each other that we would like each other to run. Perhaps for real,
I
maybe
came up
not.
with these like 5 minutes ago.
Maybe wacky. I came up with mine, ironically, like 5 minutes after we had the idea, and they've been sitting in a note on my computer desktop ever since.
Like,
Still have it, and it no longer makes any sense to me, but I'm going to go with it.
nice.
Well, look, we don't have rules. You can just change it if you want.
Yeah, you can.
No, no, no,
I mean,
no, no, no.
These are in effect.
That's right.
I know how much you like change, Ed.
I love change.
Yeah, like 40 cents change in your pocket.
Oh yeah, I have a
Sweet
big
change
golden
purse.
dollar coin in my pocket right now. With James Madison on
Dude,
the
you ought to get a
front.
change purse. That seems like your sort of thing.
Why?
I don't know. Why not?
Pockets in all of my pants.
Get a change purse for one pocket and a money clip for your other pocket.
Yeah, you can hold two things in that pocket because you'll have the change in the purse and you won't get it confused with keys or anything else.
If you shoot the moon with classy, you're just a dick.
No, shooting the moon would be also getting a monocle and a pocket watch.
I like having the change just loose in my pocket. It makes me feel rich.
Oh.
It should
Like
make Carol feel poor, but that's fine.
Okay, so since we've established that there are no rules, but we are still recording this for other people to listen to in theory,
Yep.
we should do this thing that we talked about, and who wants to
Right.
start?
I can start.
Well,
Okay, cool.
So are we starting our thing for people, or is it about Lee first?
Oh yeah, I think I like that format better.
All right.
Which
We're gonna
format?
put-
We should
it's
all
just
talk
up on
two
the
things.
block.
I said yes.
No, okay,
we
we're
should all
about...
talk about Lee, what we think Lee should do.
Yeah.
Aha!
I think that'll be
That's
more
what I thought was
organized.
going to happen when I said I'll start, but
That's what we're
Oh,
doing.
whatever.
You don't get to do anything.
Nope, you don't
'cause
get
we're
to talk
starting,
now.
'cause You're starting.
Haha!
where's the take backsies?
Nope,
I want
there
that.
isn't for this one.
You already offered yourself
All right.
up?
Well, I'm gonna pick the person who starts then, and it's gonna
All right.
be Ed because he's the most of a go-getter.
Brilliant. Okay, so you've been running this this Fate. It's pretty cool. I had this idea, like just kind of running with the Fate thing. It wasn't really my idea. It's kind of like the absence of an idea.
Sure.
I was sort of thinking like Fate would be a more than adequate way to run like a send-off to such great multi-genre role-playing games as Rifts and Torg. Sort of thinking like something, just something that where the characters are a salad of ridiculous archetypes from every genre, going in a setting that defies all classification through adventures with whatever you have. I don't think it needs to necessarily be branded with the Rifts seal.
It doesn't have to have mega damage, but if someone has a mega damage aspect, that's probably
I mean,
fine.
I think that's like the beauty of Fate is that you can just declare like that really damaging effect is mega damage, and you don't have to worry about the fact that some characters just explode at random for no reason. You can have like a railgun and a dragon, and they're both like just like really powerful, but then like a character can like still use the narrative agency that provided by the fate system to merely hand wave why their character can survive mega damage. Like, oh, I dodged. I'm free. Look at me. I'm alive still, and I'm just a guy.
Mega damage is just an aspect that my character has.
Yes, it's just something.
Yeah. It doesn't define
Something I can
him.
do. Don't worry about it. I have a laser sword.
I mean, okay, but I think that we've missed the point of me saying that I don't want it to be like Rifts by saying that it's exactly like Rifts.
Sorry, Rift is the most ridiculous
I
system.
know,
But
and I mentioned Torg because I know that it is also a multi-genre game, although I know almost nothing about it.
I don't know what that is.
I've only very briefly heard of it. I know as much
Yeah,
about that as
well-
I do about Traveler.
So yeah, that was my pitch. I know more
What
about
about-
Traveler simply because Traveler doesn't defy all classification all the time.
Ebo next.
I had a
Brian.
few ideas. I didn't only go with just one.
Pick the best one.
No, I'm not picking the best one. I'm picking all three of them.
Okay.
Yay! They're all
first
the
of all,
best. You're all my favorites.
The simple, obvious one is Lee likes to seems to like to try weird systems. So, and he wanted to try out Dread really hard. So I figured that a game that we could do like a one shot of would be Paranoia, which Lee seems a little. I think Lee would go into Paranoia really hard and be really aggressive with it, which I think would probably be pretty fun for everyone. The other one I'm hinting at when I talked to Lee is that there's this game called Made, the role-playing game.
Oh, I've heard of it.
And you have to do things for your master, and weird things happen in the world, and it's kind of anime-esque. And I remember that we played Bazum and that one, and Lee also kind of created his own thing. And I thought, with as kind of ridiculous it is, and nothing really happening, it would give Lee the space to do his 3 sentences per game rule, and at the same time be pretty fun. But the main one I thought would be Apocalypse World,
Okay.
which is like a predecessor to Dungeon World, I think. It's more of like a whole system. I think that's got some stuff with it, but the system is kind of flat compared to not in a bad way, but compared to like D&D where you have a lot of intricate rules. It's more Mage-y, Fate type stuff where there's like a limited things you can do, like you get basic moves and then you get special moves, but they're kind of strict, but in the same time it allows you a little bit of narrative. And it also like one of the type of characters that you can be is a battle babe, and I don't know, there's like sex moves and stuff. So
This sounds awesome.
it actually, I think if I understand correctly, it was one of the precursor or like something like that to Dungeon World,
Okay.
which is also pretty cool.
As long as there's an intricate sex-based mini-game, I am on board for Lee running this.
There are
Do we have to be in the
sex-based
same
things.
room for this?
For
Because I
No,
think that would be appropriate.
each of you
Oh,
gets
isn't it?
an individual session with me where
Guys.
we run a sex-based
So
role playing.
that's it.
Guys,
I
we
just
all
had
have
to throw in.
webcams. We don't
Yeah.
have to worry about being in the same room.
Do we have to have the lights on?
All right, I want Jeff to go next.
Some lights on.
You don't have to be ashamed.
A little
I'm
bit.
quickly realizing here that I was not doing this right, and my suggestions are more pragmatic than anything.
Mine
Some
are
of
also-
some of mine are like real, and some of mine are like silly.
So anyway,
Um,
My two ideas for Lee. The first one I just have to say because obviously I want Lee to run that arena game again because it was awesome. It's like this episodic Pathfinder game where we kept coming back to like a central location and go out and do shit and stuff. It was pretty like whacking out there and really fun. The other suggestion I had for Lee is we keep talking and joking about like what if Kingmaker was run with like an evil party. And I think an evil take on a Pathfinder module is something I would like Lee to run.
Just a straight up evil module.
Yeah.
Run it with bad people.
Yeah.
I have actually been delving into the deeply evil side of Baldur's Gate 2 with my most recent playthrough, and I feel like I could really get my hands in some real like rape and pillage stuff.
So Jeff and I were kind of on the same page so far. We're looking for something a little more dark for Lee and deviant, perhaps.
I think
what with Jeff's idea and Maid, of course.
Of course.
The impression that I got, we didn't play very much of it, was that the Pathfinder module with the pirates, what was it called again? Skull and Shackles.
Oh yeah.
Could more so than most modules could be played with a party tending more toward evil than good.
Oh,
I'm not 100% sure if that carries through, but just like it seemed like it. Like probably morally gray to morally black would probably work. That didn't sound right at all.
If this
Guys,
is
forgive
wow,
me.
I'm gonna move on to Richard because he is the ethnic one in the group, and he can make this seem cool.
Thank you. Actually, I kind of am on like the dark path too because there's a game that Lee's been talking about for a while that I have been like really wanting to play with him, and the reason is because it feels like it's totally in his element to do games that are like just off the cuff, but not for very long, you know? Yeah. And it's Dread. That, like, I think, like, that would be an awesome game to play with him because, like, it wouldn't go on for very... I mean, especially if we added extra rules, like maybe taking shots after certain pieces get pulled out. But,
it does not need that. Jenga's already hard, man.
I know, and it's like, man, how awesome would that be? But it's totally up his alley because like we play this Fate game with him, and he likes to do these like 3 to 4 hour sessions, not too long, not too short, just enough to get the job done. I mean, I can't imagine a Dread game going longer than that, and he could totally ad-lib it, and it would be awesome and dark.
I'm a little embarrassed by how long it took me to realize that would be a terrible idea for me, and it makes me very sad. It's a really cool idea for those of you who live in the same time zone together. For me, it would be
we'll
like
stream it if I run a Dread game, and then you can watch.
Hey, pull one out for me. No, not Evo.
Ed, I'm gonna be honest with you. I would be your surrogate puller, but you would have to actually drink if I fucked up.
You got it, dude.
It would get alcohol poisoning.
And I promise not to screw up on purpose.
But
don't worry, if you screw up, then somebody dies, and that's it.
You're taking some risks, pulling some edge pieces when I prefer a centerpiece.
I have an idea. Since every one of us went but Lee, is there a game that you've been wanting to try to do?
I was going to ask that same thing.
Yeah. Like, what would be your ideal game that if it existed, or if it already exists?
I can't say my ideal game. Like, there's just a lot of different stuff I want to run. I desperately want to run Dread. Like, I finally, totally legitimately downloaded the book, and and Richard said he would buy Jenga, ran it over there.
Mm-hmm.
And like I've been immersing myself in like all this like weird horror stuff, and also the Jenga rules. I've read them cover to cover like a dozen times.
It's like Scrabble, but less difficult.
The rule book for Jenga, I mean, not the Dread rules, whatever.
Right.
But I have a lot of really good
pages.
ideas. Yeah, exactly. I have a lot of really good ideas for it. And like the main one I had was like Richard has this really like he has a pretty big like table that's in like a really appropriately lit room, and idea all the lights except put a spotlight going straight down onto the tower and have us all like sit around the table.
Mm-hmm.
So like everything is dark except for this thing, and then when it falls, somebody dies. It'd be so epic. Oh my god, I have so many cool ideas for Dread. Granted, it is a short-term game. I mean,
Yeah.
I've heard tales of people running Dread campaigns, and it boggles my mind how that's even possible.
They must really love Jenga.
Yeah, seriously, they're really into it. And somebody's cat jumps up on the table between sessions. It's all over.
Oh my god, cats are like Godzilla's in Dread.
Oh no, the cat would be put away.
They run through and kill every character.
I mean, if we played at my house, there's a really good chance that the cat's actually already locked in a closet, bathroom, or another bedroom.
With the sink
So
on.
we're probably safe.
Yeah, and then the rule is the first person who gets out has to go and torment the cat at dramatically appropriate moments.
And then the cat dies again!
So if we were going to agree on a system for Lisa Ron, it would be
A dark one.
A dark one.
Sounds like dark, deviant, possibly ad-libbed.
okay. Agree with that or made.
Or made.
Wait, that's not dark, deviant, and ad-libbed?
Could you run
Could be.
Made with Dread system?
Oh, you definitely could.
Oh, I think so.
You run
You
a-
miss a
with sessions
you
of
screw up
careful
your
planning.
pull. You screw up your pull and like somebody slips on like a coffee coaster,
Oh no.
and then they get a piece of porcelain in their eyeball.
Right.
Wow, this...
And at the same time, their skirt was embarrassingly flipped upward, so
Yeah.
all the guests saw it.
Yep.
And then a little sweat drop came down in their face, and well, game over, man.
Yeah. Now she's off to get surgery. All
All right. That's
right,
pretty
who's
tight.
next? Who's volunteering?
next?
to be next?
You get a pick.
I get to pick?
Why not?
I think it should be Ed. I'm going to go with my previous choice because I think
I'm
it was a good one.
important. All right. Lee, I guess go first.
Oh, man.
It's just you and me here, buddy. It's like no one else is in the room. I mean,
So,
chat room.
Just like the
goes.
maid game.
my thought, I was thinking back to the game that Ed ran that was like, like the best game. And I feel like Ed should run something that in like a setting that he knows intimately. Like regardless of what the system is, because I feel like Ed can make basically any system seem pretty interesting. He actually got me interested in Burning Wheel.
I mean, well, nice.
Either be it like a system that or a setting that Ed makes up and like just gets really really deep into it, or a system that's already or a setting that's already around like Star Wars or something like that. And like with my original thought was that it should have like morally gray choices that really like make things difficult for characters, but at the same time I feel like of anyone I know, Ed would be the best player character in the party. Like, he would be the guy who's like, all right, this is what we're going to do in the next session, and everybody's going to hate you for it. And I was like, that would be so awesome, and I know Ed could frame it perfectly in a way that like that everybody thinks it's cool, and then when that guy like either dies or gets away with it, it would just be crazy awesome.
That's pretty sweet.
And you should probably do it in Burning Wheel. So
Burning
the
Wheel.
combat with the bad guy takes like 6 hours.
You know, I don't think. Yeah, I don't know if the combat in Burning Wheel is supposed to be legendarily long. I just don't
It's
think
just
that
so complicated.
even I didn't really understand it when we tried to do it.
Didn't they use relative abstraction?
No. Well, they didn't call it that.
Can't two people run at each other for eternity?
Well, that can happen in real life.
That's true.
At?
Haven't
And
you
they'll
ever
never
seen
reach each other.
square dancing? No, that's pretty tight. Nothing wrong with Burning Wheel. I mean, yeah, sure. Let's just leave it at that. All right,
Left it.
who goes next? Brian,
Okay.
Evo, that is.
All right.
Use the listenership.
Okay. First of all, the initial idea I had was obviously mouse guard, but I didn't think that would be quite your system and interesting enough for you to go with. So I took something that was. I know that you like to try out new systems.
You bet.
And I thought something that was more high fantasy. So, but also at the same time, it didn't have to be. So I had the first idea was I figured 13th Age would be pretty good. Because it's kind of, I think it's done by like the D&D 4th edition, and I don't remember who else. But it's like high fantasy, but a little bit different than D&D. And I think that if anyone were to get us into a different high fantasy type game, it would be you, and 13th Age would be up that alley. At the same time, the other one I thought that would be a better fit that we have not played yet, and I've always wanted to play, is Savage Worlds.
Okay.
And I think that you could do something with that. I know, like, the characters are like complicated and weird and stuff, but I think that you could really bring us into, like, I don't know, into the game and the system in itself, because you seem to be really good at us, like,
I don't know. I've
a game.
never really read Savage Worlds. I mean, it's obviously extremely popular, and it's like everything on the internet where somebody's talking about, like, hey, what system should I use for something? They're like, well, why don't you just use Savage Worlds? Because it's the best. And, you know, I guess if I had a game that really defied existing systems to capture it, I would maybe consider that.
Post-apocalyptic high fantasy nightmare world?
I'm not sure. A lot of games out there, buddy. I did.
It's always Burning Wheel.
I did get a chance to read a little bit of 13th Age, but I didn't get very far into it. I remember, like, one of the things about it that attracted me so much was that it has, like, every character has their one unique thing that no one else has. But I feel like that is not something new. I feel like I've been in more than one game where one of the core conceits of character creation was that you had something that is not explicitly given to you by the rules.
That sounds like Final Fantasy VI.
I feel like the 13th Age way of going at it is kind of like saying, like, yeah, but this thing doesn't do anything, no matter what. And that kind of bummed me out. So I was kind of like, yeah, if I were ever run this, I would say, yeah, but your thing also does something, which might be cool.
Okay.
But I did like the way that 13th Age handled skills. I can't remember what they call them now. Basically, you have, like, it's sort of like Burning Wheel life paths where you have, like, you just say what you have done, and it determines what. Essentially, instead of having skills, you say, like, I'm going to roll my having been this thing for that, because it's like basically like skill packages that you get for.
Like, this is what I get for being for being an electrical engineer, and this is what I get for being a horse manure scooper.
I've heard that skills were really good for
fantasy setting. So it's like I was a cat burglar, or I was a city guard, or I was a blacksmith, or I was a
manure
librarian.
scooper.
Yes, a pooper scooper.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, I'm a little interested in reading more of 13th Age. I don't really know very much about it at this point.
You know, I feel like there's always somebody who scoops poop. There's somebody who scoops poop in, like, a fantasy world. There's got to be, right? But nobody wants to be that guy.
Why not? It probably
Richard
pays
could be
well.
that guy.
I could be that
It
guy.
probably does.
I would do really well with it.
Yeah.
I would get
You
bonuses.
tend to throw yourself into your work.
All right.
There's two left.
Sounds really crappy.
You have two more. Jeez. Okay.
No.
There's two people left.
I meant two people.
Okay.
I'm finished.
Sure. What do you got?
Okay,
Something for me?
I actually thought that Lee was going to say what I thought. I didn't realize that you were that into Burning Wheel. But I know that you're like the kind of guy that likes to play games where like the setting, like it's if the setting speaks to you, the game's going to be really good. And when we played Mage with Jeff, you were like the most knowledgeable, like hands down for like everything. And I felt like, man, if this guy ran a Mage game, it would have all sorts of cool, complex stuff in it, you know? And I actually would like to see you in that element. And I don't even care if it's like the way that Jeff was doing it, like homebrew or whatever, or if it was like the current, you know, World of Darkness setting or whatever. But that's what I'd like to see you do, because you seem to know a lot about it, and that's the kind of game that seems like it's ran even better when someone knows a lot about the universe.
Yeah, I love Mage. If you pressured me to tell you what my favorite role-playing game was, I would say Mage: The Awakening for sure. I have been reading. I had been reading a lot of Mage: The Ascension materials lately, which is kind of it's just it used to sit so prominently in my heart, even though we so seldom played it and much less successfully. But yeah. I love Mage so much. It really gets my.
Yeah, I feel bad that we completely derailed and obliterated your other Mage game.
You know, I think I've. Which one are you talking about? The one
There
where
were a
you
lot
killed
of
the
good
child?
Mage games.
There was a
the one where
murdering
you kill
of a
the baby.
child, yes. Even I have heard about this.
I've run more than one Mage game, and they've all sort of stopped happening for some reason or sometimes no reason. That one stopped happening for a reason.
Yes, it did.
But yeah, no, it's I keep up with new Mage stuff that comes out, and I'm still really into it. But yeah,
That would be an
I think
awesome
that there's
opportunity to try out those new, like if the conversion's out for the like new World of Darkness.
well,
the Mage
I mean
one is coming
the
out this year, I think.
the conversions for like the base stats and like experience expenditures are out, and not for nothing, but Dave Brookshaw, one of the developers
Dave
of
Beef?
the Mage line, Dave Beef of internet fame, has posted on the on the forums, or had posted. I'm not sure if those forums even still exist.
Like the quick and dirty thing?
He posted like his conversion rules that he uses for his games. Although I think in theory he is the one who is going to write the actual rules, so in theory they will be pretty close to that, probably with some external editing and influence involved.
Yeah.
I have no idea when that book is coming out, but they seem pretty sure that it is, which I'm really psyched about, because any new Mage is fine by me. It's one thing that I'm not certain about, and this might not be the place to bring it up, is I'm not sure how the current online tools we are using for game stuff would really fare with not old, but like regular White Wolf mechanics, like with dice and successes and stuff. Whereas previously we were playing sort of a chopped up White Wolf Fate hybrid, which used much simpler
I
dice
thought that
mechanics.
our thing supported that, but maybe not.
Well, I guess I don't know.
We should
If it does,
good
then
call.
hooray.
I'm gonna write that down.
I'm not saying it doesn't. I'm just saying that I have no clue. But yeah. Sweet.
Jeff.
How about Jeff?
I want to hear Jeff's answer.
Yeah,
right.
Jeff, what do you have?
So, at a while back, okay, first of all, just to get it out of the way, clearly Star Wars. I don't have to say anything more about that.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you know everything about Star Wars. Your Star
That'd be
Wars
great.
game was basically
Okay.
your first, like, really awesome baller game that everyone loved. So, yeah.
Sweet.
It was like, sex in your mouth.
And also in
Continue.
your brain pan.
That was really
And in
fun.
your
One of the
brain
best
pan.
kinds.
One of the best, yep.
Lee played a kitschy Ewok with a gun character, but you still made it happen. So,
Mhm.
despite Lee's best efforts, I just want to
Yeah.
put that one in there.
Oh, what do you mean? Just
Um,
I fit really well into that party.
Okay. So a
You
while
just
back,
squinted your eyes and pretended he was something else.
a while, a while back, Lee and I were talking about games that you were running and stuff, and you were talking about like running Kingmaker again and stuff, and we got on the subject of like, because you like delve deep into like all these books and stuff, and all this stuff for games that you're probably never even gonna run or play in or all this stuff, and you just like know all this stuff, and we're like,
Guilty.
what would happen if Ed made his own thing? Like, because you've got all these ideas floating around, all this creativity and shit. And my thought is that my absolute favorite type of game is like the type of game where there's that balance where it's like the players are clearly driving things, but at the same time you can't just always succeed in everything you try to do. Like there's that sort of tension there, that sort of you still got to kind of do
Right.
things right, and I would like to see you run that kind of game because I think that'd be a lot of fun. System,
Yeah.
whatever, but that'd be really cool.
Yeah, sounds pretty sweet. I think I have been like really devouring a lot of different games and materials lately, and I've been getting that bad new shiny disease where I keep desiring to do something, and like in some of the situations it's an easy fix, whereas like I've been reading, well, for a while I had been reading so much Eclipse Phase, and I really wanted to run Eclipse Phase, but what I wanted was to play Eclipse Phase, and given that we weren't playing it currently, I was like just left to my own devices with a mess of Eclipse Phase books and reading them. And then the same thing has just recently happened to me with Shadowrun, where Rory had just delicately hinted that he wanted to run Shadowrun, and now I'm obsessed with it. I can't stop reading it. I want to run it so bad.
I think
But
that's
I think
what we're
that if-
supposed to do when
I
we
think
hear about that.
my hope is that Rory will start to run Shadowrun, and I will be cured of this aching
Crippling
need
disease.
to continue to devour it and think up ideas related to it, and just like, oof, because it's making me bananas. And the only problem is, yeah, like that solution won't work for every game that I read, because I can't force somebody else to run something. I mean, I guess I haven't tried that hard, but I'm almost sure it wouldn't work. Like, I can't assign each of you one of the games that I like the most to run exactly the way I want it.
So Ed, what do you want to run?
Yeah, okay. I mean, I have, like I said, I have a long list. I want to run basically everything. I do like
That sounds right.
I do really like Mage the Awakening, and I'm always like less than 2 degrees distant from being back obsessed with it. It's like right now I'm not gonna quit this recording and then go read a bunch of Mage stuff, but it's like it's almost, I probably might. But then, like, you know,
I just imagine you
like,
being like, well, maybe I'll just read that again for old time's
well, like
sake.
I said, I had been reading a lot of Mage the Ascension stuff recently, and I think that instead of, I had been like, this is like a couple of months ago that I was really like deep in it, like you know, the character in a movie who's got like pins on the walls with yarn connecting things, like a crazy lunatic reading this stuff. But they're coming out with the Mage the Ascension 20th anniversary, hopefully pretty soon.
Yeah.
I think it's getting close to being written, and I think they're saying that Kickstarter is going to go up in February, maybe. And while I keep telling myself that it's part of my essence enough to buy the actual physical book, I'll probably just wind up obtaining the PDF, because the book is probably going to be really expensive. I guess I haven't checked on the V20
Yeah.
and W20, but I'm pretty sure they're like premiums.
It'll probably have sick-ass illustrations in it.
But it sounds like it's going to be like the longest book in the world.
Burn.
I have like Facebook updates from Phil Mercado. Did you just burn me and I missed it?
No, I was burning the World of Darkness books.
Okay. Well, they have some art that they've already published that looks pretty good. I think that they I'm just really that's one of my dream games is like run a real Mage of the Ascension. I'm an adult when I'm running it, so that I know what the setting and the story is supposed to be about, as opposed to what we did before, which was basically we used it as a system to play basically superheroes. We were like middle school. It doesn't count. Well, yeah, I mean, but that's one of them. And the other one, the one that's the weirdest and the hardest and the least likely to really happen in the way I want it is there's a game called Continuum, which is a time travel role-playing game, and it's one of those ones that will creep into my brain pan every now and again, and I'm just become obsessed with it, and I'm like, there's got to be a way to make this work. And it would take a lot of buy-in from everyone involved, but maybe one day we'll
time travel game. That seems right up your alley.
It's like really awesome, but you got to believe me. But it's real difficult because everybody has to
keep track of things, or
everybody has to keep track of things really well. Everybody has to understand that I'm only one person and I'm not as smart as a whole group of players combined. So when I do something that is moronic, I have to have some forgiveness, and if
you always just say like, oh, it was time travel, and like do take backsies.
Well, it's not even like that. It's more like like every now and again, somebody is going to step on their own toes by accidentally time traveling to the wrong time and place, and I might not always catch that, and so we need everybody together to be interested in what is happening in the game, or else it won't work.
Collaborative paradox prevention.
I actually think you're good at dealing with that sort of stuff. That's one of the reasons I mentioned for running the player-driven type thing, because like when the players go off the rails and start assuming that they can automatically succeed at every little thing, you seem to generally have the reasonable perspective under control, where like, no, you can't just do that because this silly thing you're not thinking about is going to be the problem. Like,
Sure.
So who's next, Ed?
His baby's sir.
Yeah. Okay. I guess I'm sure that if you kept me on the spot, I cut more games that I want to run, but instead, I think it would probably be best for me to just stop it. This is just part of my syndrome.
So who's next, man?
Oh,
you're in charge.
Who's left? Was it Lee and Ebo got did?
Me and you got did.
Oh, Ebo didn't get did yet?
That's Richard, Jeff, and I. No.
Oh,
Ebo didn't get
then.
did.
Let's do Ebo. Let's all get together and do Ebo.
I am going to start with you two went. So I'm going to start with Rory, but he's not here, so we can't do that.
Okay.
Oh, it's going to be different.
Okay, Richard.
That's what you get for talking, Richard.
All right. Well, guess what? You know what game I want you to run, Ebo? I want you to run this Eclipse Phase game that you haven't run yet.
Fuck you, Richard. You took
I have more than one written down, but it's definitely on the list.
No, from what I understand, you don't have like a lot of experience like doing a lot of different games, or maybe more than a couple, but you've put a lot of effort into this one, and I really want to see it actually come to fruition. So I'm sticking to my guns on this one.
I had to wait 3 months for people to give me their characters. No big deal.
No, no big deal. Then you're just sitting on it.
I would.
And then you need a month of downtime between when you can start.
It's got to cool down.
It's cool.
Yeah, it's got
Really
to
cool octopus character that I want to play, and I don't know when that's going to happen.
And there are not a lot of games where someone can say that, and it's a thing that they mean.
No, but really, I mean, like, we did this like trial game, and I wasn't sure like how much I was gonna like it or not, but kind of like Ed, like once I start reading the book, then I start thinking, oh man, if I was gonna run a game like this is how I would do it, and I start thinking about trying to run it like locally, but it's really that I just want to play the game, and I'd rather someone else run it for me, you know. But I get the bug, and I start reading all these different things, you know, and I wasn't sure how I was going to do, but he did like a little trial game of it, and it was pretty cool. I mean, I don't have a lot of experience doing like science fiction, futuristic stuff, and it gives you a lot of options. And we've talked about it, so it's very intriguing, and I want to see more of it. So that's what
I've been reading sci-fi books for the past, like, I don't know, since September, so I have a bunch of more ideas to build off of.
Nice.
So,
nice.
yeah, well, anyway, like I said, I'm hoping to run in the next few weeks.
February?
Because Rory is busy. Yep. Early February.
I'm holding you to that. If you don't do that, I'm going to
That's fine.
like vice grip your testicles.
Don't
we
say
just
that.
got delayed by I had like no time during the holidays.
Yeah, Jeff,
It's
you
all
might
good.
think that was graphic, but
Okay.
it was,
we're all on
next-
the edge.
Next is Jeff
Oh yeah.
because it's the same answer.
All right. It is not completely the same answer, but yes, I want to play this Eclipse Phase game. You haven't jammed a lot, so I don't know what kind of jam you are. But what I do hear is you talking about games that you think are interesting, or games that you would totally run, and it's generally like, oh yeah, cool, I play that, but we never end up playing it. So like, I think it would be cool if you ran like a Promethean or a Werewolf Forsaken game, because you talk about how much you like those, and I think for like a person who hasn't jammed a lot, running something you're interested in would be like really good. Also, the God Machine thing, like I think World of Darkness, just from what I can tell, seems like it's your jam. But I really want to play
Yeah.
Eclipse Phase.
World of Darkness is pretty baller. I will
Yeah.
not deny that.
They have some of the coolest like settings. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. I'm gonna touch on it later, but go ahead.
Yeah, the settings I personally really find interesting, and the characters they allow you to create your own story without being like burdened by having to, like, the setting of the World of Darkness games is like expansive when you just like it can be inside of a box, but also like I don't know, it can get a lot deeper and darker, which is interesting to me.
It's like a world of darkness.
Okay.
thanks,
We're gonna
Richard.
go next with Lee.
Sure. So I don't know what you would run this in, but my idea was that I had noticed that you were increasing your intake of science fiction by several fold, and my thought was that you should run a Cthulhu game because the Cthulhu mythos is incredibly cool and incredibly open-ended, and I know how much you hate it when people just tell you everything. And as far as the Cthulhu goes, like the actual like stuff is really vague. Like the only monsters that he describes in any detail you can count on like one hand, like probably several fingers. He's really vague about everything like that, and like it would give you a lot of freedom to you know like get really into it and like scare people or kill characters, which I think would be really entertaining in a system like that. And I think that like the build up to that sort of thing you could do really well, and also it would be an interesting way to just sort of take in something that none of us have ever really spent a lot of time with. So you would be like the only person who knows a lot about it, which I think would be really awesome.
Until Ed got wind of what I was doing.
And then he reads everything Lovecraft ever wrote.
Stay away, Ed.
Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna have that problem.
Ed.
Actual books? I don't know.
It's I have read some Lovecraft and I do like it, but I think that it's I think what you're saying is true, that the Cthulhu mythos is almost better when you define less about it. Like,
Yeah.
I don't necessarily. Yeah, I don't know. I think I agree with your assessment about that game and Ebo taking a whack at it. I think it probably would work.
That was one. I keep thinking about going to. Also, that's always on my list of things to be things to try. And then there's also like a newer one that takes place in modern times, I think, called Delta Green.
Okay.
That's like the Call of Cthulhu, but like modern times. And I don't know if it keeps the mythos, but it's like investigative and that type of stuff. And it's also supposed to be really good.
Cool.
So
Yeah, I like the idea of a game where you are the authority on it, and no one else has really any idea what's around the next corner. I think that would fit you really well.
and then I guess we didn't actually hit on Ed.
Okay. Yeah.
So-
I wrote down Eclipse Phase. I hadn't thought of it until you said the words, Evo, but when you brought up Paranoia, I was thinking of you for Paranoia. I don't know why. It just seems like I don't know much about it at all. I just know it's supposed to be kind of funny. And it's got like that thing where you have like people dying left and right and center. One that I had thought of in addition to Cthulhu was it's been a long time since I've read the rules in any way, but Cthulhu Tech, are you familiar with it?
I know nothing about it. I've heard of it.
It's a lot less of the good stuff that we described about the Cthulhu mythos, in that it's like sci-fi sort of future post-apocalyptic, but it includes like Cthulhu-ish characters and creatures and situations. It's got like mechs and giant monsters. Well, and that's the thing. Well, that's one thing about it is like I always got a kind of Evangelion vibe from it, because like some of the mechs you can
that'd
get
be pretty cool.
are like aliens housed in armor that lets you interface with them. So it's like you can be like riding around like a mech robot and fighting bad guys, or you can be merging with a giant alien creature in an even more powerful giant suit thing and battling. And it sounded really awesome to me at the time. Like I said, it had Ava vibe where you're like, it's like giant robots, but there's something creepy or gross going on in addition. And yeah, and there's like even despite that, like you could run a Cthulhu Tech game that didn't have the giant robot situations at all. They made it seem like you could have like some characters in and some characters out, but I really think you kind of want to go all in.
Like Xenogears, where you have like Faye punching other robots?
Don't bring that up. So I'm not like that, but like you have the different characters going in different directions. As I remember, the rule system mechanics seemed pretty good. I don't really remember very much about it, but it was pretty rocking for a while, and I think that there's a decent amount of published material if you want to keep going deeper into it. Or you can like take the page from Cthulhu Regular and just kind of like bring out whatever you want, like just like weird stuff. But yeah, it was one that I liked. I thought of Evo when I was thinking of it.
Okay, I'll check it out.
Word.
That sounds pretty cool. That sounds about almost right up my alley. I do like Ava and giant monsters.
Everybody does. Word.
And okay, so
Now to you. What do
for-
you want to?
for
What do
me,
you want to run?
Do
I
yourself.
want to run an Eclipse Phase.
Yay!
I'm going to note that I am a true friend and I did not write down Eclipse Phase.
Okay, I do want to run that though. It's really fun.
You didn't write down Eclipse
excited
Phase
for it.
as your fantasy game that you wish you would
I
run,
say-
but you never will?
Can I say I did write it down for the same reason? I don't. Continue.
Just because you're a
And,
true friend, that's the reason that you wrote it down?
Let's see. Okay, and then the other one I wanted to try out and was actually Mouse Guard, because my brother got the actual role-playing, or not the actual books by David Peterson, and they're like totally awesome. I'm only like halfway through the first one, and it's like just really fucking cool.
What is it?
But it's in the Burning Wheel system, or like Burning Wheel similar system.
It's
I
a
think.
lot like Burning Wheel,
And,
but it is a lot different also.
Isn't it by the same guy?
Yeah, I mean it's designed people who made Burning Wheel, but it is it is different in a lot of
Is
ways.
this a fantasy game?
So yeah, it's called like the Guard, and they're these little they're mice that have to like live in like these secluded areas, and they have like messengers and like people who it's kind of like a fantasy setting, but with mice, and they have to like fight snakes and all this stuff. But there's like a lot of intrigue, and they're not just little mice; they're like actual people, and it's really dark.
I've read a lot
It's
of
a
it.
lot darker than.
I've read a lot of it, and a fair amount of the role playing game, and it is like it's so much grittier than you would expect to get from a comic book about mice. It's like really raw. Like there's a part if you ever read it where they get attacked by an owl, and it's just off the chains. It's crazy. But yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that was one of the ones, but I would have to look at the system.
Now, if it's a burning wheelie,
I remember there being one specific thing about it that is completely different, and I do not remember what it is.
I hope that the life paths are still there.
I remember being insanely confused by something about the book until I realized that it was different from Burning Wheel in this specific way, and I don't remember what it was.
The same guy.
Yeah, no, it's definitely by the same guy.
It sounds awesome, and I
Yeah.
would play the hell
Oh,
out
yeah.
of that.
Mouse wheel or mouse guard actually looks really
Mouse wheel?
cool.
Mouse wheel, burning mouse.
I just got it in my
Mouse
head.
trap.
Anyway, that's a little bit about that.
Yeah.
So I might do some more thoughts of some of those just for the hell of it.
All right.
Who do I get okay. Who's next?
If Richard and Jeff.
Okay. I'm gonna go with Richard.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, you get to go
Richard.
first.
Okay. Okay, for Richard.
There's always
have two.
these obscure games that he like really wants to check out.
There's
So
no
let's
way
see
no
what he's
one's
got.
First of all, no, it's not. Rogue Trader is the very first one.
Oh,
that I
awesome.
thought. Yeah, you're right, it's
Oh.
awesome. Okay, so I didn't go with Dark Heresy because that's one's dumb. And I thought that the Space Marines one was a little too Space Marine for my taste, and I think that the Rogue one actually gives you more to play with. Because from what I understand, you like a lot of like interaction, and I think instead of like the big dumb Space Marine type brute where you have like traders and stuff that actually go to different places around the world. It
Yeah,
would be,
Rogue
like,
Trader
really
deals with
fitting
more
into-
like they deal more with like the Xenos and stuff too, not just Space Marines and humans and whatever, you know.
Yeah. And yeah, they've got like different races and everything. So I thought that would be really cool.
Yeah,
It does help that
and
you're the
it
only one among
also-
us who could probably afford the book.
also
probably.
You like also, you like Warhammer, so I thought that was also pretty good. And the system is actually supposed to be really cool too. And I think it just gives you a really good narrative, which you seem to enjoy, at least from what I understand from your games that you've been telling me about.
Cool.
But there's also, let's see, Dogs in the Vineyard, which is
Oh,
a little different.
love it.
But at the same time, I think it's pretty good because, okay, have you ever heard of Dogs in the Vineyard?
No, actually, the
Okay.
name sounds familiar, but I've never actually.
So great.
It's like this game where you play God's watchdogs, where you're like these faithful. I think it's like based off of Mormon stuff, but it's
It
like
is,
these really
but don't worry
faithful
about it.
people that go from town to town and try to like increase the faith of the area. Like if a demon needs to be banished, or you just have to like send something off. But like the scope is like you're these warriors of God or dogs, and you have to go from town to town and like increase the faith of the town, or that type of thing. But it's supposed to be really I don't
Out
know,
there?
like, narrative based. I don't know. It's pretty.
The dice
I guess Ed
mechanics
could
are
probably explain
amazing.
it better.
The dice mechanics are really interesting, and the core mechanic that makes it like different, in my opinion, is basically escalation, is what they call it, where basically you're playing like characters who are like, traveling priests / judge / police. So you're assumed to be trying to solve every problem peacefully, and so you can basically get into like debate / interrogation with people who you suspect or accuse of doing wrong, and if you or they can't win it, you can basically up the ante by getting physical, and then you can up the ante again by getting like shooty physical, and so it's basically like if you're unwilling to escalate, you can't necessarily win. However, when you escalate, then the consequences that you suffer after the fight tends to be more severe. It's pretty tough.
You got shot.
It's actually supposed to be a really awesome, unique system, and it's an indie game, but people love it.
I bought the PDF. I have a printout of it in a binder in my bedroom. I made a book of the book because it's such a good book.
Screw porno, mate.
Is that the one that you hide under your mattress head?
Your wife leaves the room and you're like, yeah, flipping pages and smelling them.
Vineyard.
Yeah, but it's like it is really good, and it's the sort of thing where the setting is both. It's got basically.
It sounds bizarre, which is awesome, because like. I mean, first off, bizarre, let me throw something out there. Like, since I'm so atheist, it almost sounds like it'd be more fun. You know what I mean? Yeah,
like playing
that's the thing.
Yeah, no, it's like the faith thing is just really cool because it like kind of sticks you into that thing, but you can come at it from so many different angles.
There are mechanics for demonic influence. Basically, when people are doing evil things, there are more dice in the GM's pool because of demonic influence, but they specifically they specifically leave it up to you to define whether that represents demons or whether that represents like just the situation is getting nastier because it's been allowed to fester. And whether or not you want there to be a supernatural element is completely up to you. Whether or not you want the trappings of religion to have an effect are completely up to you. And you can even you can say that these like religious rituals or exorcisms maybe have an effect on these people because they believe in them, or maybe it's actually demons. And it's very episodic, sort of like what was the game we were talking about earlier? The idea is like if you look up stuff about it on the internet, they'll talk about I ran this town, and the idea is like you go to a town and you solve the problems there, and that's like one or a few sections.
Right.
You investigate what's going on there. Maybe there's a problem. Maybe they're like, thank God you came. We need your help.
Right.
Or maybe they're like, everything's great here. We don't need any help. But
really there is something going on.
But it turns out that they're just saying that because they don't want you to know that they're doing nasty stuff.
Yeah. No, that sounds really cool.
Oh, it's tight.
Ed, would you like to go next?
Sure.
Okay.
I made a note of 40K stuff also because having never had you as a GM, I kind of don't. I sort of feel like I didn't want to get you socks, so I figured I'd just get you whatever.
No, I mean, actually, the 40K
thing
makes a lot of sense because I'm one of the couple people that actually like does that. You know what I mean? Like makes the models and stuff.
It would also really scratch your itch to get really confrontational with Rory.
Oh, I do not want to do that. Not about 40K, not about anything.
So the only other thing I know about you as a GM is that you have run a Pathfinder module before.
Okay.
And so one of the things I was thinking, there are a bunch of them that I'd like to play as much as I'd like to run.
Mm-hmm.
I really am into the one that I haven't read a single thing about, except that it uses rules from a new book, is called Wrath of the Righteous, which is an adventure path that uses stuff from the the new book about superpower characters, mythic. Mythic.
Oh,
character,
sure.
I don't remember. his name.
yeah.
It looked really cool. There's this thing that they're talking about making that they put as I think a bonus on the Kickstarter for Pathfinder Online called the Emerald Spire, which is supposed to be a super dungeon with contributions from a ton of notable RPG writers that I think they're anticipating. Well, I heard a rumor that it might be coming out at Gen Con this year. And the other idea I had, which would be a little bit farther out of the realm of a normal module, is to like port an old module into updated Pathfinder rules, or another system entirely if you prefer. I wrote down Barrier Peaks because it's the one that.
Oh, is that the one with the aliens?
Sure. Don't spoil it.
Yeah. Why would you do that?
Sorry,
I don't know much about it.
thought we had talked about it on the podcast
If
before.
you want to know, that is where Froghemoth comes from originally. I'm pretty sure. But it's one of the wackiest ones. Not necessarily because it's set out to be slapstick or goofy, but because they just unabashedly mess around with your expectations of what exists in the setting, and also just like classic ones. Like I'm passing familiar with Against the Giants or whatever it's called, and
Temple of Elemental Evil.
Sure. I mean,
yeah,
I don't want
I've heard
the
about
classic.
that one for so long, and I've never played it.
or,
And that would be
The
kind
only
of
person I know who's played any of it is Rory. I played the game, and it was super duper hard to the point that I played Icewind Dale instead.
my point is that
And Icewind Dale's hard.
I'm not saying that you don't have your own original ideas. I'm just saying the opportunity to just get somebody to set up an updated version of a classic adventure, because I don't want to learn the rules for first or second edition.
Yeah.
And
which
try
is not
to
a
play
shame.
it. Yeah, but just something that seemed rad to me. That's all.
No, that's cool. I'm gonna when I get my turn to talk about myself, I'll mention some stuff because I feel like I have everybody at a disadvantage since I have not run a game for you guys, but I've only told stories about games that I've ran.
Sure.
But anyway, Lee, you seem like you're real itching to go, so I'm gonna let you go.
I'm always really itching to go. I'm actually I'm really warm, so it's actually kind of itching here anyway. All right. I have two ideas.
Okay.
My first idea was a sort of almost a standard fantasy game, but I know how much the idea of rolling stats gets your goat, in a good way. And my thought was that if you were going to run a sort of standard, maybe even episodic fantasy game, that it would have to have some catch that would be interesting, everybody makes characters for other people.
Yes.
And everybody has multiple characters, and people just die willy-nilly. The traps are disintegrates at level 2, and everyone has a pool of characters made by everybody else. In a 5-person game, everybody has 4 characters made by different people, and you just scroll right on to the next one when somebody gets disintegrated.
Can I touch on that for a moment?
Somebody gets bitten by a rabid dog, and then they give everybody in the party rabies, and everybody just rolls on to the next guy, level 6, do it up.
Not
There's
before
an
I
idea-
call I get to make Ebo's character. Okay.
That's fine if you want to make you.
Hey.
Before you go any
I don't
further,
roleplay anything.
there's an idea that I'm for a game that's kind of in suspended animation right now. There's an idea that I have that I've been wanting to do where even though everybody's kind of comfortable with the characters that they're playing, I kind of wanted to put them in a position where they had to play the person next to them's character, but without telling them, and just see how it would work out. And one of the things that some of you probably have caught on to by now or not, but I really like to play games within games, and just kind of to me it's more fun to watch people figure out the secondary game in the game. So I don't know, I thought it would be really awesome if somebody was oh, well, I'm just going to cast Fireball at it, and it's well, that's kind of funny because you don't seem to know how to do that, you know what I mean? Or just put them in that position to try to figure it out, you need to wake up at, or how come you have breasts today, or whatever. I don't know. I just something I wanted to try to find a real clever way to do it. I thought about maybe like in a dream state, or if they were like in like a limbo, or their souls got kind of swapped or something. But anyways, I want to use an idea kind of like that sometime. But continue. Sorry.
So yeah, that was my idea, or that was one of my ideas, where like everybody rolls random, like you get your 3d6 for your stats, and that's what you're stuck with.
Yeah, I've done that too.
First. You pick paladin, and then you roll up like 6 charisma and 4 wisdom and 18 strength, and your character's a big berserk retard.
Yeah, if any of you guys have actually met Peachy, he did that. He rolled his paladin, and he had terrible stats, and I never told him that he wasn't a paladin. I just let him not be one, and he kept thinking he was like resistant to disease and stuff, and I'd be like, well, I don't know, you got the disease. He's like, it clearly sucks that I'm resistant to diseases like mummy rot, which is what he got. I'm like, I don't know, God's not on your side, buddy. Oh, it's so terrible. I think still to this day he doesn't know that I wasn't letting him play the paladin. Anyway,
so the other idea I have is a little bit more specific.
Okay.
I feel like you should run everybody as John, because
I like that.
you like to
that.
fuck with people, and everybody as John is basically collaborative fuckery on an epic scale. Like everybody hates everybody else and wants to just screw over everybody else. And from what I understand, there's a GM in everybody's John, right? And I just feel like you would really push people in that direction, where at the end of the night there are less friends in the room, and I think that would be excellent.
I would say this: if that is a GM-less game, I would gladly try to set one up so that we could all try to play it, because that is a really intriguing game, and it does seem like it's more of a collaborative effort, and it's almost like everybody's the GM, you know. So that would be kind of cool.
I thought there was a GM in that game, though. Either way, anyway, I was thinking, I was like,
let's call them a referee.
that would be right up your alley, like to just make situations as ridiculous as possible.
It's like doing one long Mad Libs book, you know what I mean, where everybody's filling the blanks.
All right, well, now you have a golf cart, and you drove it into the hospital. What next? And Richard's
well,
like,
I've got to rescue my grandma from the sharks, you know.
And then Richard would just be like, actually, it's a veterinary hospital, and they're treating an elephant right now.
With a rocket launcher.
And your character's on LSD, and you think that the elephant is your grandmother. What now? Like it would be right up your alley.
That would be a lot of fun. All right, Jeff.
All right.
Go ahead.
So my thought is that I've never played in a game where Richard is GMing, so I'm not exactly sure what to expect. But I think that I don't know, Richard, you definitely seem like the self-made man type of guy, and so I think any game you run is probably going to be more than it is. Space Marine, obviously, you know a lot about that universe. I think even if we were all playing Space Marine Brutes, it would be more than we expect it to be on the first onset, and I think that'd be a lot of fun. Same with, like Ed mentioned, like a Pathfinder module. The write-ups that you did on the blog for sort of talking about how that game went, that sounded really cool. And like the play and all that stuff and everyone getting together, it sounded really neat. So I think seeing what you could do with the Pathfinder module will be really cool. The other idea I had, since I don't think any of us have played in a game where you GM'd, would be something really serious and brutal, like Hunter the Vigil.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah, Hunter's awesome.
for anyone who's not familiar, it's like these normal-ish humans like struggling against the horrors of the world of darkness and trying to make their mark despite being
No, yeah, Hunter's really
Way-
powerless. Like I think that
Way
would
powerless.
I think that would be an awesome Richard game.
How do 4 people deal with a superpowered vampire?
3 of them do, and 1 of them doesn't.
Because I
That is Hunter.
Well,
some
Lee
reason-
knows a little story about how some people would not know how to deal with a vampire.
That is true. I did hear about that. Oh man,
I just
you
feel
gotta
like
get Zach on here to tell that story.
you would not let up in all the right times, and I don't know. I think it would probably turn out really well.
Yeah, I think that would be pretty cool. I have to admit, I've kind of been... This is me time now. I have to admit that like I had always been intrigued by like the World of Darkness stuff because I don't know what it is, but something about like classic monsters and stuff, but with like twists like that, sounds like it'd be a lot of fun. And I remember playing like the Hunter video game, so actually to touch on what you were saying, and I was like, wow, that's crazy because like I heard about like werewolf and like vampire like back in the day, and then it's like these are normal people that are just like a little bit better than average people, and they're gonna take on like this whole evil army of whatevers, and it just seems like such an uphill battle, and a struggle, but they have like faith or they have vengeance on the mind or whatever it is, and that's what drives them to do these things that are like, out of the ordinary. So that does seem like it'd be pretty cool. It's really weird for me because I well, first off, the Pathfinder module was the first time I've ever done a written module because I always want to write like the whole world that we never get to see, and I kind of like go overboard with it because nobody's ever going to see all of the stuff. But I kind of am in a weird predicament where I like to do serious stuff, but it's also like a platform for me to just entertain people too. And so I like to do like real zany stuff. So I'm kind of like on both ends of the spectrum, which is probably a really bad thing. But the thing that I've been itching to do the most is, and this has been like, I don't know, like a 15-year itch or something. Like, I want to do a game that's like really, really dark. Like I was telling Lee about like an idea I had, and I kind of want to elaborate on it a little bit. But I would love to do a game, if there isn't one already like this, where like everybody is going to die by the end of the game. But to make matters even worse, I even thought it would be really cool to play a game, and it doesn't matter what the setting is, where everybody's going to die, and when somebody does die, instead of them being out of the game of the campaign, that person now helps GM ways to kill other players, and it eventually gets to a point where there's like one person pitted against the minds of everybody else, but it's all in good fun. You know what I mean? It's not like to not to make friends hate each other, but because everybody's supposed to die. But how like crazy can we get it? You know what I mean? Like
Final Destination, the role-playing game.
Yeah, kind of. Now that you mention it, it is kind of like that. But I would love to, because there's a couple games that I've done out of like the few games that I have GM, where people had ideas and they thought, oh, do you want to like duo DM this, and where we'd split the party up and one person's doing one, and we don't even know what each other are doing and stuff. And I think it would be kind of cool to do like a collaborative GM thing. So that would be kind of a neat way to spice things up, where we have a game written that goes for a while, and then eventually someone dies, and then the person that dies has to now help come up with ways to kill the other players. That would be kind of neat to see, like how far we could stretch it. But yeah, anyways, I guess I just come from a time where the GM was like sincerely trying to kill people, but no, I never really liked seeing people die. So whenever I GM'd, I tried to make these stories where people wouldn't die. But now I'm kind of thinking, if you could have the best of both worlds, where it's like you are trying to kill everybody, but they're not so attached to their character that they're not going to be butthurt about it, afterwards. So I don't know. That'd be nice
they have
to walk
four
that
characters made by other people.
Yes, and they're not even playing their own character.
Ebo would just get 4 chicks.
That's like game
No,
suction.
if Richard made this game, I would kill myself off first, so I could kill you guys how I please.
He'd be like, hey, Lee.
First section.
Slit his own throat.
Who wants to
Is
play
it my
Russian
turn?
roulette?
I'm gonna hook
I'll
up.
go first. And second.
See, you guys are already coming up with cool, creative ways to kill each other, and this is where I like
Yeah, we just started that.
this. So anyway, I guess it's Jeff's turn, right? So.
All right, right back at you.
Oh, for me? Okay, what I like about when Jeff DMs is that he doesn't play by like the rules as written, as far as I've seen. He likes to like hybrid it and stuff like that. And to go back to like the World of Darkness thing, I actually kind of think it'd be really awesome for Jeff to make a game, so this is going to take a lot of effort on Jeff's part, where somehow he lets us play in the World of Darkness with the different like character types from all the different books, but in one story, you know. So like, if we could find a creative way to have like a hunter and a mage and a vampire working together, or something like that, or whatever people want to do. If there's going to be like 2 vampires and a werewolf, or whatever, you know what I mean? But like, almost
Sounds like a sitcom.
There's not going to be a werewolf.
No, but
Werewolf.
I'm just saying, like, if we could find a constructive way to do it, I think it'd be really awesome. Like, there'd have to be some kind of, like, just something bigger than all of them is what's going on, and they have to work together, and they probably hate each other, but it would be really cool anyways to do a game where he just, like, and also he plays really well with the fate system. It doesn't have to be a fate game, but I really like what he did when we were doing Mage, and even with this like kind of Pathfinder-esque fantasy game that he's doing, he's like allowing the hero points to be a factor and stuff like that, and likes to like play on the players like their own traits that they have. It almost makes them play the character that they made like in their mind rather than just playing the stats. And I really like that kind of narrative, and he does really good with it. And I think like a hybrid game like that is totally up his alley, and I would love to see one where someone, even the new one we were talking about, where you could be a kid, the kid with a vampire,
a werewolf, a vampire,
and
a
a demon,
kid,
and the changeling. They're carrying this kid around.
It's like that thing from the old Super Friends cartoons where it's like Superman and the Flash, and then there's 2 teenagers that hang around with them.
Yeah, there's always like the token kid, you know.
Yeah, I'm just like, sure.
The normal kid.
Yeah.
I know how to
I don't
get
think
these off
it's
the top of
normal.
that fridge.
Heart.
Totally.
Okay.
Anyway, all joking aside, I think it would be really cool. I think if any of us could pull it off, you'd be able to pull it off.
Yeah, I used to run a lot less serious games that were basically that, but not in any way serious.
This one doesn't have to be serious.
Yeah, we're fighting a giant slime monster from space.
You see, the vampires
That's
wanted
why
to
it-
take over the world,
that's why
but the
there are
werewolves
16
also
wings.
wanted
Do
to
you
do
mean
that.
that they weren't serious because you weren't serious about them, or they weren't serious because we were so young?
That's the one, yeah.
Okay, because I would agree with you there, where it's like we just start with the premise that all of the angst between vampires and werewolves isn't a thing, that that the mages aren't going to just dominate everybody for whatever reason, and then I think there was one time when Ben and Nick played Bastet, who could fly for no reason.
Flying cats. It makes sense. They land on all fours.
They just have to fall around the Earth in a low orbit.
Relative abstraction, yeah.
Okay, you got me there, dog.
Distraction.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Let's go with Lee.
All right. So I'm going to go way back in time. I'm going to jump in the Wayback Machine.
Oh, no.
I'm going to bring back something that you thought you would never hear again.
Oh, no.
Now, I'm going to, as much as I'm going back in the Wayback Machine, this also involves going to the future. In the future, when computers are good enough for this sort of thing, we collaborate with the Game FAQs community, and we deconstruct all of the math in Final Fantasy Tactics.
God.
And Jeff runs a virtual reality Final Fantasy Tactics game with all of the math in place. We don't use the silly, we don't use the foam blocks
yeah, I
that
gotta
we had
stop you
made
there.
before.
Jeff deconstructed all the math by hand, didn't he?
It was
We were
pretty
using
close.
a set of
Yeah.
FAQs.
Okay. I thought that he stripped that game directly from the headlines.
That was from
No,
And
no,
then we used Flower Arranger's foam to create
did.
3D terrain, and it was the best thing ever for about 45 minutes.
Yep, it was
That green dust was everywhere forever.
needlessly complicated, and yeah, the dust was on the floor for until the end of time. It probably still is baked
Yeah.
into the carpet
Just
now.
Rub your hands on it, and then it sands
good.
itself.
And but anyway, like
That's pretty
the whole idea of like the way tactics approach the storyline and stuff, and like that sort of combat and things. Like if it were possible to simplify that process by like 10,000 times to a point where a person could actually do this
Virtual phone.
in virtual reality with virtual phone, that would be what I want to play. I want Jeff to run a Final Fantasy Tactics game in 30 years.
Deal.
Sweet. This is happening. You heard it here first on this podcast. House School Podcast episode 700 is going to be when Jeff runs Final Fantasy Tactics
In virtual reality.
in virtual reality. It doesn't have to be in virtual reality. You can run it in regular reality too.
I was going to say, it doesn't have to be in virtual reality, but it cannot be in reality.
Man, we could
Yes, that is true.
we could play a Final Fantasy Tactics game on the tabletop. It wouldn't be that hard.
That is true. We would have to come up with some way to deal with like height and stuff because obviously the math in the game would have to work with that.
That's true. That's true.
See, yeah, that's where all the unbelievable complication comes in.
Initiative and speed and all that, that was always the worst.
Yeah, but it was so cool if you could just have a computer do that for you,
Yeah,
which we could have.
that's true.
Anyway, the style of game where it's like
Yeah.
like Tactics was like deeply it at the same time told a story that was like very much about the characters, but it was also kind of serious and bigger than them was very interesting to me. And for some reason like that style of game is very like that style, with the politics and all that jazz, is very tied to Final Fantasy Tactics in my mind, and like that whole evilly setting and stuff. And I think that would be really cool.
We used to play a lot of games like that, particularly with Sean, where it's like this heavy, everyone is super invested in the story, and then time out for the combat minigame, but it was pretty fun to version and break, and then right back into it. Like, that kind of thing. It's pretty fun for some reason. I don't know why, but...
Yeah, it's very cinematic sort of thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was my thought. Is like, I don't think anyone else would ever have remotely, or even in the past had remotely the ambition to. I was like, Jeff could do it again one day.
One day.
Yeah.
I know what you guys thought I was going to say, and I defied your expectations.
Thank you.
I'm not
Yes.
100% sure that I knew what you were going to say, because
Aspirin Moon.
All right, Ed.
Oh, you want to do the aspirin move game? For what it's worth, what was that thing called with
North
the
Star.
aspirin moon? North Star. Which I still am not 100% sure I understand the purpose of it.
North Star was just fate, but it was
yeah.
more dumb.
It was like fate, but it was like Jeff was trying to prove something in 3 discrete chapters where we made it all up, and it was completely ridiculous.
It was.
Oh man. Well, I think that it was like a challenge. Like, can we add something stupid into the setting? I want a moon that's made of aspirin. Okay. Sure. So so I have a couple of them on here for Jeff. First of all, I have never quite forgiven you for stopping your Mage the Awakening game. I want
Which
you
one?
to run
Probably
either
any
one,
of
but I
them.
mean the last one mainly because it's the one that we were just playing. I forgave him
it
for the
wasn't
first.
stopped. It
Oh
was,
God, it was really
ended.
good.
I
No, but it
forgive
was.
him
We
for
can
the first
continue.
one. I forgive him for the first one because of the second one, but I need another one before I'm going to be able to get past this one. I really like the way you run Mage. I really like that someone other than me runs Mage. I like the first time I felt like the weird, I would call it unique and not published materials that you've infused into the setting. The first game, that end part of the game was a real shock to the system that I'm not 100%. But I feel like the end of this last game both worked for me completely and also really vindicated the end of the previous game, where now I'm really glad that happened that way. And now I really want to play it again so bad. Really jonesing hard. this is a Wayback Machine, but I don't think it's as way back as Lee was suggesting, or as way back as
That was a fun basement experiment, and I want to recreate it. Shut up.
as you were fearing. And I think I know what you're worried someone's going to say, but you have to tell me if nobody says it. Anyway, I was really, really into, and this might be because it served as sort of a mage surrogate, both your Zero Heaven and X Heaven games.
Sure.
You had it was I really like your world building. I feel more so than anything else that I can't read off of the internet. The world that you created for those two games, which were, similar yet discrete, basically similar yet discrete, nearish future, non-Earth realistic worlds with magic or something.
Or whatever you want to call it.
Well, it's got that thing that could be magic, or if you're in a sci-fi enough setting, you could maybe explain it using some sort of science. But it always turns out to be magic, basically. I feel like more so than anything, I feel like those two games had more than any other games I've ever played. They had a life of their own, really, that made me want for them to be like a TV show that I could watch by myself all of the time, instead of waiting for a session. I would be on the hook from one session to the next one. I wanted to play it all the time. I liked my characters in them, and I liked basically the fact that character creation was sort of like Richard was saying, where it's like a hodgepodge, only instead of a hodgepodge of existing character types, it's just you kind of make a character of whatever type you want, and then we assign mechanics to it.
Okay. What it was we got to make what we want, and then Jeff did all the work.
Yeah, we're basically asking Jeff to do all the work.
I think that
make my fairy tale work, Jeff.
Well, it was like by the time he ran the second one, he sort of had a little game Bible that had here's about what kind of superpowers you can have, and if you want something that's different, that's fine. It just can't be inherently better than any of these. And now that I'm reflecting on it, I cannot really remember the difference between the two.
Whenever I look back at that, I just think of how system-wise immature that was. But I do like how the characters all turned out and stuff. So I think now from time to time how that could happen again, and I just don't ever come up with it, I guess.
It's just one of those things I don't know if you have a grand view of the dimensions of that setting, but I just feel like I want to know what happened. I wanted to know what happened afterwards when the game came to a conclusion. And you had a couple of false starts on subsequent games in that setting or genre.
Yeah.
Which I kind of lament, because I had a character I rather liked, and it just never quite took again. But the longer one where Ebo was the angel and Lee was the Hulk and I was a cyborg.
Yeah.
And
Clive?
This is a sitcom, right?
Can I admit something
Sure.
really stupid to you?
sure, I love
Yes.
stupid.
When we moved, this was not a thing. We moved right before the cutoff, before this whole thing was possible and available to everyone. So my assumption was that that game was dead because we moved. So it's I would consider running more of that game for sure. Now that I realize that I don't have to give up all of my games because I still play with the same people. Anyway. So.
Yeah, running those games with a bunch of random dudes would be impossible.
Oh yeah, wouldn't make any sense.
No. but you should run that. Even the one
And
where
I
we
guess-
were all diseased, that game was Bizarro Land, but I
Yeah.
enjoyed it.
I really liked. I was just reflecting on like that one seemed so weird to me when we were getting into it, but it was like I was more so than any game I've ever played. We really did start quite earnestly as I think regular-ish people,
Kids.
albeit the setting was loco. We were
Loco's a really good way to
I-
put that.
we were
setting.
high school
When is-
students who were competing in a contest to make.
A spaceship.
I think we decided to make a spaceship project in
Something
a
like
contest
that.
against other people who were trying to make the ultimate science innovation. It was bizarre, but it was like I felt like more so than I had ever done before. I made an effort to make my character a realistic normal, as opposed to being well, I was training to be an Olympic fencer, so I have all this melee skill.
God damn it,
Shh,
Rory!
don't tell him I said that. Don't tell him I said it.
Rory, if you're listening, we love you.
Like I had that character had a lot of firearms skill. After he got a gun and was in a dangerous situation, I trained up firearms because I wanted to shoot people.
Yeah,
Before
we
that,
were
he
stuck
couldn't
on
shoot a gun,
An ultra dangerous wound for a long time.
and it was just like, I really liked it. I did. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, the character's got a lot of unique stuff. It's sort of like what someone else was talking about, where everybody has their own thing. Like that's what those games were a lot of the time.
The system was
Also-
Magic powers wise.
so married to the mage system, in my opinion. But but you basically, instead of classifying what we were capable of, you basically asked us to come up with an idea for an area of influence, and then run with it. And I like
yeah,
it.
that's a pretty good time.
So cool.
Brian?
Okay, this is gonna be really disappointing.
And just hit a
Hey.
nostalgicism. What can you follow that up with, Evo?
Okay, first of all, what I'm going to say is that I keep telling or keep talking.
Evo's
I agree with
blushing.
Ed about the whole system with the Zero Heaven and the X Heaven in all of those games. Those are some of the most fun I've ever had, just because I felt like actors were really really real, and it gave us the ability to do what we wanted, because we could just be anything. But at the same time, that wasn't really the entire thing. It's like there's still parts of that game that I keep thinking back on that were like so cool, like the whole I don't know what you call it, but like the guy who was like good with all the animals and stuff.
Yeah.
And then like they're just like it wasn't just that, but it was like the whole world. Like especially when we did the Earth one, where I got to be like the white mage, the Final Fantasy type thing.
Oh yeah, that was out there too.
Whenever you whenever you have an idea or a world that you really like, and then you kind of build it to your own specs, and then you give us like the freedom to do that, like what you're doing with your current games is really like the best. Plus you have like this whole Sean always had a game where it was like an epic game, and it felt like it was an epic game, but you had this whole epic game where it felt like less of an epic game, and we had more control over what we were doing. And
But
you
did
still
we?
brought it. Yes, actually, and then we still brought it together. I think we had a lot of freedom with what we were doing. Like the whole sandboxy thing, but it was still. I love epic games.
Yeah, I think
And
that
so,
like game quizzes is something that I think was a Jeff innovation in the entire world, but in our group. And I just sort of feel like I don't know, like in any game I've ever run, I don't know if I've ever had it's not that I don't have that many balls in the air. It's that I don't necessarily have my hand underneath them at all times. I sort of leave things a little loosier. And I cannot envision the big picture stuff without ruining the middle of the game stuff generally. And that's one thing I always liked was that like this game was so legit with plot that stretches far and wide and goes really deep that it was like he quizzed us on stuff and we like it's tight.
I swear to God, he's done
Okay.
quiz questions where he asked us about people, and he's used names that we had never heard, like legitimately never heard. And I was just like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Well, okay. I don't know
Anyway,
if that's
Evo,
Okay.
were you
Well,
continuing?
What? Okay. Anyway, that wasn't my actual answer. That was just kind of going off of what I
Okay.
says. And the other one is just a little sadder because I think the main thing with Jeff is that he has to be really invested in an actual game system to become a part of it or to actually like change it, like Forgotten Realms or the Mage system itself. Or you have these systems that you work with, but you kind of skew them in your own direction. So I didn't really have anything that off the top of my head that I think you would actually like, but I thought things that you could do something with are obviously Demon the Descent, because you seem to perk up with the whole God Machine thing when that happened. I thought that was really cool and right up your alley, because the whole God Machine is this like physical entity, but what it is unknown.
It is like
And it encompasses like all the world of darkness. Like mages could be built from that, or it could be on a lower scope of what is actually happening in the mage world, and something like that. Were you gonna say
oh,
something?
it's
'Cause I
just
had
one of the
another
coolest World of Darkness things I had heard in so long. When you started talking to me about it, I'm like, that is badass.
Yeah, it is
Yeah.
badass.
And I thought that one would actually be right up your alley. And then the other one, because you seem to go towards like actual horror whenever you get like the chance to do something with it. So I thought that the Call of Cthulhu, I don't know if you'd actually like the system, but something more modern, more horror might actually be up your alley. Just not something that's necessarily going to be a long-running game, but maybe it could be. But the Delta Green, I think it's called, which is like a modern version of Call of Cthulhu, but which takes the investigative part and all that stuff, and then brings it just into the modern times. I think might be really cool if you actually can get invested in the worlds, but I don't know if the world is specific enough. But I don't really know much about it. That was just kind of one that I thought. Well, Call of Cthulhu, or Call to Cthulhu, I don't remember which one it is. I thought that it would almost work, but I don't know. I don't really know if it'd be right up your alley at all.
Oh, I think
It
it's
seems like it could be
possible.
cool.
Like from what people say, the Lovecraft novels and such are like really good. And like I
Yeah.
thought, whenever Rory was talking about like Amber, I was like, oh, okay, whatever, I don't care. But then he got me to actually like read the first book, and I was pretty much hooked.
Yeah, Amber does that.
Yeah. So
Hands in your guts way.
and then the other one is Mouse Guard, because that's also a really good thing, and I have the actual graphic novel, so you can read them and then get into it yourself, and then allow me to play a mouse.
Well, the thing, I don't know how this, the one that you were talking about, the X and Zero or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, X Heaven and Zero Heaven. Those were
Yeah.
in Winona Games.
I am like interested to hear stories about it. But I don't know if
We
he
have
was
a
doing this
million.
back then or not. But at least like this current, like modern Jeff GM style that I really appreciate is that he like once we start kind of like making our characters, he identifies what's important to us as players for these characters, and then he like leverages it to like get us into the game. And I don't even know if he's like consciously doing it, but I'm pretty sure he is because he's really good at it. And like there were times like in the mage game where like I felt like the game would end, and it's like you were like in a long distance relationship, and you just hung up the phone, and you don't know if they're gonna pick up the phone next time you call, and it's like I would be so down, like
Is the lover on the line?
yeah, that's what that's how he made my character feel, and in essence made me feel where like if I heard like a sappy like love story or love song or something like that, I was like, oh man, like I really am so down about my character and all the shit he's going through, you know what I mean? Like he just like totally identified that like my character has like an abandonment issue, and I like totally wanted to explore that with my character, and then he like leveraged it big time and like made me like in a situation where I may be abandoned again. And it was like, fuck, man, this really sucked, and I really wanted to see it all work out, and he like just snatched it away with it, and but he did that to everybody like in their own way, because he knew what everybody's buttons were going to be, because we gave him the tools, like right at the beginning, and then he just totally ran with it. And so really, Jeff, like you can run whatever game you want. We're all going to like whatever you run.
That's not true. I'm gonna go out of my way to hate your next thing.
Oh my
I'm
God.
just gonna piss all over it.
Paranoia. I don't think that would work.
You guys, that was like one of our first experiments with Fate, and I took it in a really serious direction, and you guys made like awesome characters, so that was pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I did. And not Ed.
Nice.
No, but like you added all this mystery in it too, because like they were talking about the like the quizzes and stuff, and it wasn't until the first quiz that I realized how far Jeff really thinks into his game, because there was obviously there was some intrigue and some mystery that was going on early on, and we're doing like some problem solving and some detective work, and then he starts asking us these questions of stuff that's just so off the wall that it started to become apparent that we almost want to answer these questions with off the wall answers that we shouldn't even consider being within the box, and that would be closer to what he's looking for than what we think, so
You got some of those right.
Well, and
yeah, we did get some of those right, and I don't think he's ever going to tell us, and you know why? Because when he runs another mage game, it's going to be in the same universe, and he might just use that shit.
I think the thing that really gets me about that mage game in particular, and Jeff's games, I would say his White Wolf games, but is also his, since he's been running we'll say since Chronicles, since the big D&D saga.
Big C.
It's like the thing that really gets me is that he tends to run games in cycles. Like he ran a mage game, and it was his first mage game, and it was very good. Everybody seems to really like it, and then it ended. And then he started another mage game in the same continuity. So there were in general, it wasn't strictly a sequel, at least not at the beginning, but there were certain threads that were attached, certain things that were minor, like the presence of was it the Hollow One, the name of the ridiculous spirit? With
Oh man, that thing is never gonna go away.
And it's just like things like that are together. What it is it makes me really wish that I had more games that finished. Like, I wish I had a library of completed campaigns so that the next time I start a game, it will already have more of a foundation,
history, yeah.
As opposed to just trying to cobble together this new game from scratch.
I'm still not convinced that the current game isn't in Chronicles. He told me it wasn't, but I've been lied to before.
Yeah, he does lie to you when it serves him. That is true.
Hey, no, I'm not lying about that.
Yeah, sure you're
There
not.
it is.
Yeah, look at that smile on his
What?
face.
I'm not.
Yeah, right. I believe
Like a
you.
liar would say.
I would
approximately.
gladly tell you exactly which games are in the same world and which aren't. So yes.
Well, but we just accused you of being a liar.
You
Nothing you said
but yes.
that game.
Did you hear him? He said, but yes,
But yes.
which means it is.
All right.
Yeah, or maybe it's not. I hate him.
Okay, Jeff, then what do you...
I want to run all kinds
Yeah.
of stuff. I mean, you're right. I get an idea about something that sounds cool, and I just want to run it. It's like a terrible addiction that I'll GMs have. I read that Gossamer and Shadow book, and I want to run that. That looks awesome. I also like running new things and new systems and trying new approaches to running games, and that is an approach that I see Rory running, and I'm like, I want to do that. That looks fun. And let's see, I want to run New Atlantis, if I can ever figure out how. And
Oh man, those characters. That would be a nightmare apocalypse scenario.
I've made
It would be different
2
characters.
or 3 system write-ups for that game, and I just ditched them. So I don't know.
Okay.
I want to run more mage. I want to run the current Pathfinder game. What the end goal is always is that I'm going to run like these, like Fate and World of Darkness have this thing where they break it down, and it's like you've got a campaign, but that's a bigger part of something else, and then like a bunch of those all put together makes this big thing that finally culminates and the entire thing is over. Like I've finished games, but I've never finished campaigns. Like I never finished Yorikash, I never finished like Chronicles, that type of stuff. Like I think the Mage game is going to be the first, but I'd like to finish the whole shebang someday and just be done with it. And such.
Yeah, the Mystic Realms one is almost looking too big to finish.
I mean,
but I believe in you.
Basically, after the Drow games, this is basically the second game.
The next big one.
I think there was a false start in there, but whatever.
I believe in you. I'm gonna keep saying that because I feel like if I doubt you, that you're just gonna be like, well, maybe I'll make some tater tots instead of running.
Well, if I can't please Lee,
yeah, exactly, right?
then I guess it's all over.
What?
But the holidays have been pretty crazy, and I want to play more in general.
Cannot wait for Christmas
Me
to
too.
be done.
Yeah, and I of course have to beg your all of your indulgence for my personal choices.
One day you'll finish a game, Ed. I believe in you.
I was talking about my having another child, which doesn't free up more of my time. Yeah, but she's nice.
I thought you meant how you.
My wife is standing right behind me, and I'm getting myself in trouble.
That's fine. You can always console yourself with the Dogs in the Vineyard book you have hidden on your mat.
Hey, it was her personal choice too. Don't take the burden on this.
All right, yeah. I guess if you put it that way, she did kind of conspire to ruin my gaming. No, don't come over here. Don't beat me up. Ow.
Well,
I am harm.
So yeah.
She beat me a little.
Now we all know our deepest, darkest secrets about each other.
Yeah, and I think
so.
Yeah.
We all want
Do
to
we
roleplay
have
more.
a game that Rory should play that we could shout out?
Oh, yeah,
Shadowrun.
Rory, don't stop running your Amber game for any reason. That's my shout out.
Oh God, yes.
The game is
I apologize for not getting my materials. I am a delinquent.
I want him to run Shadowrun. I want to play Shadowrun really bad.
I also want to play.
If I don't get to run Shadowrun, I will obsess about running Shadowrun until it destroys me.
Because that was really fun.
Amber is the color of my energy.
Whoa.
Yeah, whoa. No, I really that Amber game was like something else. Like
There is really nothing quite like Amber.
Yeah, I mean you until you read those books, at least set, it's like you can't get that game. Maybe I'm being mean. I'm sure there are people who could, people of superior IQ to me, but it's just like until I read the books, I was like, Rory wanted me to play it, and that's why I was playing it. As soon as I did, I was like, I need to make this happen so bad. I need to have this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't really know much about the Lords of Gossamer and Shadow, which you were describing, but it might be. I mean, I'm not saying he should stop running Amber for this, but in the future, it might be something that he can take this similar principles and kind of take it in another, in the Z-axis, just kind of out into some totally different space.
Which one's you, Richard? You should read Amber.
Yeah,
Sitting
I know.
right behind you, I know it is.
It's just to my side. So.
If you don't want to read it, I can get you the audiobooks.
No, I've got the book. I can read it.
Yeah, I'm
audiobooks
like,
are
I just
very
need
good.
to do it.
They're read
I'm
by
like-
the author.
I may listen to them. I don't know. We'll see. I think I'm gonna read it. I just need to remember that I have it there. You know, Ebo
And Jeff actually
lent me
has the
book.
unabridged ones.
If I
yeah.
can entice you, the author has
whatever,
a very
man.
surly man voice.
Yeah,
Didn't-
he sounds like a smoker, and that's how
Did
how
he die of cancer? Yeah, okay, I thought
Yeah,
so.
Okay.
he did.
Yeah, he
So
did.
as far as Rory's concerned, like when I found out that he was doing like an old D&D style, I like wanted to like get into that at some point. Like back in the day, for any of us that I don't know about you guys, but that have
We all
played
played
like
AD&D.
yeah, AD&D or like whatever, second edition or whatever you want to call it. The old D&D with their and their AC that goes backwards and the thief can do things with percentile dice now, and like as like wild as it was, it just has this soft spot in my heart, and I would love to play just this like I don't know, like no holds barred, fucking
No bard.
no barred.
I want Rory to
It would
run
definitely be
Temple of
brutal.
Elemental Evil in AD&D.
I do, yeah. I want to see that, like in
Yes.
its format, because he.
I would play the
not
hell out of
only-
that.
Like he like my first experience of him GMing a game was that one game that he was doing where we were like pioneering this other
Oh,
country
God, the
or
island?
whatever. It was like so taxing, you know what I mean, compared to like the other games, and it reminded me
yeah.
of those old games because it's like now he's like how fatigued we are and we're all like ridden with disease, and this is
When-
like what would really happen if we would actually go out into the jungle for like a couple weeks. And so I was like, man, he really takes it to another level, and it reminds me of playing like those old D&D games where the
But they had
D&D is
charts
out
for
there
that
to
stuff.
he's out there to hate fuck you, and you got to think about how you're really going to live in this world, he's not going to cater to you. You got to figure it out. And I'm like, man, I would love to play that with him because it would like make me take it less serious and like be like I'm going to go along with this and try my best, to pit myself up against Rory's machinations and see what happens, that would be the style.
I think that's why I want Rory to run Shadowrun more than I want to play, or I want him to run it for me to play more than I want to run it, because I want to get. I feel like I'm interested in the new rules. I'm not very familiar with the older Shadowrun rules at all, but that's fine. I want to play the game that it is intended, and I think that I know he's played the older versions, or at least some, and he's got a pretty good grasp on the setting and how it's supposed to feel. And I want it to feel the way it did in the early 90s when people were just discovering it, and like I want to get a little bit of that, like not nostalgia, but like retro, somebody else's nostalgia that I want for me.
Steal other people's memories.
Yeah, like I feel like for the most
I
part,
made a character who can do that.
I don't want to play. I don't really want to play like second edition D&D, but I feel like under the right circumstances, yes, there is a formula where I would want to play it.
Yeah.
I don't think I would want to go back to first edition, but I could be
No.
persuaded.
That's
I think if
You have a
Rory
hard time
asked
persuading me to play a fighting man.
and
Well,
this
the-
is like
the
an
Shadowrun-
April Fool's joke, and then we didn't actually play it.
The Shadowrun thing is actually something that if he was here now, I would be trying to push on him too, because
Yeah.
I've been wanting to play a Shadowrun game for a long time, and then we had the little teaser of playing that one shot, and it was like, oh my god, this would be a lot of fun, and he knows the system, and he knows the universe, and that is also a very brutal situation to be in, I mean, it's almost expected for you to die and have other characters
And roll up your next runner.
Yeah, exactly. It's almost
Yeah.
expected to do that, and so that's how wild and crazy it is in that city.
And I wouldn't
Or
want it
whatever
to
he
be.
calls
I
it.
wouldn't want it to be like just a succession of failures and deaths. I would like for him to give a certain amount of latitude, but I want for him to basically, once we're in the swing with a couple of runs under our belt, I want for a Shadowrun GM who will meet me in the field and, challenge me properly, not just put obstacles in the way of my skills, but
Not just about falling on your katana.
well, it's just like know what is in this building. What are we going to have to do? Maybe the guy with the machine gun in one hand and the katana in the other is going to be completely useless in here. Maybe it would be better if we had 4 deckers going on this run. I want somebody who will set up challenges that should inhabit the Shadowrun world. That's what I want, and this, that's the sort of thing I think that someone with some experience can put up there.
That's Rory.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Definitely Rory.
Yeah.
There's another thing that I think is really interesting about Shadowrun that we kind of were talking about, and I meant to finish this train of thought the other day, is Shadowrun, since it's so episodic, or just small,
Right.
let's just do this run and then we do this run. I always wanted to live the dream of being a GM, but also being a player where somebody else GMs. You know what I mean?
You make a persuasive point there, dog.
I think that would be so awesome because it's if everybody gets to make a character and we all get to be invested in it, and then we all start trading time of doing our little one-shots where we're all using each other's characters in them. You know what I mean? That'd be God, that'd be so cool. And then it's if I come up with a really good idea for what's going on in this Shadowrun world, I could say, Rory, make a character. I want to run the next game. And then I could run the next game, and you guys could play with your characters, and he could play too, and vice versa. You know what I mean? That's a dream to me. I've been wanting to live out for a long time.
Shadowrun does seem good for that.
We had a pretty successful rotating GM D&D game back in the day.
Yeah.
But it was predicated on the very explicit premise that everybody's stuff is their own stuff and nobody touches it. So it had a kind of...
So it's not because he's GMing, so can we use his sniper rifle while he's...
That's not what I mean. I mean every GM's stuff was their own stuff.
Oh,
it was like a magical city of doors where you could be transported to different places, and nothing from one place could go to the other places, and so it had sort of a weirdly forced episodic sense to
where you're
it.
in Tokyo today and Seattle tomorrow.
Well, it was Sean's things tended to be very story-driven, like his games tend to be, and it was this weird zombie nightmare. And then Ebo's sessions, we always wound up traveling a really long time to get somewhere and fight some stuff. And I remember the encounters being cool, but feeling this weird shock to the system that we had been gone for 3 months.
Yeah.
And then Jeff was running this thing, which was
A nightmare.
basically a waking nightmare. And I really liked those sessions because
We were on the moon?
well,
Or in the moon?
they felt challenging because we never quite there was no recourse. You never quite knew what would happen. There was just darkness situations that were just mind-boggling, and just stuff that you weren't sure how dangerous it was, and then you were just attacked by monsters in the darkness.
And there was a situation where we turned a corner and there was literally just a mind flare right there. We were stuck. I think it was Jeff's game where we had the lantern that only reveals 10 feet around the person who's carrying it, and we turned a corner and there was a mind flare out of that range that mind blasted everybody.
It was hardcore. And
was just trying to be nice and give everyone a fair shot to be mind blasted. That's all.
Yeah, we all got
Equal opportunity mind blasting.
The point that I was originally getting to was that I think that that Shadowrun is a setting uniquely endowed for that sort of play where it is fully within the expected style of play, that you will be going to a lot of vastly different places within a relatively small geographical area, and you might not always be going with the same group of people.
Right.
it's
Yeah.
it's almost exactly set up for that to work the best. And granted, you can get up into the like upper echelons of the setting, but I think that would even work better in Shadowrun, because you could, as long as like nobody is explicitly contradicting the things that you say, like the machinations of CEOs and dragons and spirits and stuff are inscrutable enough that you could just kind of play around with what's happening really easily without disturbing anything.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that would be awesome too.
We could broach that idea to Roy, because there's
Well-
no way he's going to listen to this. Actually,
does
he
any-
has surprised
does.
me and said that he's listened to them before, so
Yeah.
maybe he will.
Yeah,
So he's
I'm
going to hear
hoping he will.
all the stuff we're going to say about
I
it.
didn't want him to get left out because, as far as this whole thing goes,
Yeah.
he's usually here, and we should actually include him on what we
Well-
think he should run. So, Rory, what do you think you should run?
Yeah, leave it in the comments below.
I don't know. This has gone on pretty long, but it is a bonus.
I'm
Is there
glad.
any? I don't know. Is there
Couple hours.
anything that anybody else has to add? Like, I feel like there are ideas that I've had since we've been talking, and some of them have already died. Just like thing that you wish you could play or run that you're not sure how you would ever like, or a game that you think would be cool to play, but you're not sure who.
Okay, I got something I've always wanted to do, and I was talking about kind of like a horror game before, but even
Uh-huh.
more so, like ever since like I'm a big fan of like the Aliens like movies, and
Sure.
I always thought it would be really cool to run a game where like a derelict ship game, like the kind where you wake up and there's something going on that's wrong and you don't quite know what it is, and all the players are kind of in the dark and nothing works. And there's something out there, but they don't know what it is. And I thought it would be really cool to do a very atmospheric game. But I think that is mostly better done like in an actual room, because you can have the lights down and stuff like that to really set the mood. Because it would be really cool to play an actual scary game, not just tense because the Jenga tower is going to fall over, and not just
See, I think the Jenga Tower is scary.
Well, and that's the thing is, well, you would, but I'm just saying.
I don't know what that means.
So, anyway, I just think it'd be cool to do like a very atmospheric, scary game.
Richard, if you replaced what you just said with those words being an actual pitch for a game you were going to run, I would say yes. Immediately.
Yeah.
Because that sounds awesome.
Yeah, you should run. What was that movie that we watched? Pandorum.
Oh
I
yeah,
love
I've been wanting to
Pandora.
watch it, but I haven't seen it.
Pandorum is awesome, and it is. You would like it, I promise.
I've
I
always
mean, is it
thought
like
that-
along the Event Horizon and the other kind
Yes.
of?
It's way
Like-
better than Event Horizon.
Well, I'm just saying, is it along those lines?
It is.
Yeah.
Kinda, yeah.
I mean, it's like
It's like sci-fi.
yeah, it's
Sci-fi horror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'd like it. It's very good.
It's like my favorite things to watch. If I had to like,
Me
put
need
a
to watch
specific
that
genre.
a few times. The movie's crazy good.
Yeah, it is really good.
what were you
Okay.
saying, Ed?
Ed was
Well, I was just
saying
gonna say, like, I always thought that Jeff and Sean were both really good at creating tension/horror in games, and I think a lot of that comes down to music choices. Like, I can imagine playing a game without music and having it have all of the feelings that the games with music have, but I feel like in those moments where your mind is wandering because you're not really doing anything, having spooky music playing really keeps you paying attention for spooky things to happen. The one scene I'm really leaning on in my recollections is from, I think it was Zero Heaven. We went to a space station, and you were playing like a Silent Hill song that had this weird kind of mechanical twang noise that would occasionally pop up, and it always freaked me out because it was just like an ambient drone and then like a ba-dong, like somebody slapping a guitar, and it always just like, it was like the whole time we were in there, and it was like deserted, obviously. So there's nothing there, and we were freaking out.
Nothing to actually be scared about.
It was totally freaky.
That was the supplies section.
And then Sean also ran a session long, long ago back in the Sean's Mom's
The
Attic
Amityville
days.
horror song.
No, no,
I
I'm
was
thinking
gonna
of.
say V&V Nation one.
He played one where we encountered a wall of flesh, which was a living wall, I think is what it was called in the second edition DMG. I don't remember what the song was. I just remember that I don't think we were in danger from the living wall. It was just so freaky the way he characterized it, and there was like super stressful music playing, and I was just like, what is going to happen? I don't want to.
I was thinking about the song from the Amityville horror when he played it whenever we would
Yeah.
go to the
Wall of water.
the Darklands, the Blacklands.
Sure.
Oh, Ed, you're talking about the pervert from Final Fantasy Tactics.
The Pervert from
That's
Final
what the
Fantasy
song is called,
Tactics.
Yeah, it's got little spiders and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
It was
it's
freaky
got
because
the
all the
spring
characters
stance.
were blindfolded because of some weird mechanic with the creature, and we were
Mhm.
like being led through the thing. That was awesome.
That was awesome.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
what is it called?
The song is called "The Pervert." It's from Final Fantasy Tactics. It's the one that happens when you fight
Okay.
Shoot Your Lane. Anyway,
Yeah. I gotta write
the
it
guy
down.
with the mouth on his belly. No, the Sean played a song from the original Amityville horror soundtrack
Uh-huh.
whenever we would go to the Blacklands in his game. Like whenever we would encounter this wall of water, and that like when I think about the things that Sean was telling me, they never sounded that freaky. And then when he played the song, I was terrified out of my mind because that song is creepy as hell, and it's like. That song just ruins me. Even now, when I hear that song, like I went out of my way to find that song on YouTube, like maybe a year ago, and I'm like, no, that song is still like scary as hell.
I think it's just the theme from the movie, but if you
Yeah.
listen to the whole song all the way through, the last like 30 seconds are children's laughter, and then it's like children's laughter with the pitch turned all the way down, so it sounds like and you're just like, oh, what is that? It sounds like some sort of ghost or monster that is lurking around the children, and you're like,
Evil
what is
clown.
happening?
It sounds like whoo, whoo, whoo.
Yeah, it's like it was
Not cool.
really, really creepy. And that song still gets me. And it's like the music in those situations was so good.
And like even a more control of something that was kind of scary. It wasn't like super scary, like I didn't fear for my life really, but like in the context of the game, it was like very threatening. In the most recent Mage game, when we first encountered the dwelling of that weird, super powerful evil guy,
Oh yeah,
it was like
with the
there was
torches.
there was conventionally creepy things like the trappings of torture and weird experiments, but then there were like just in-game creepy things like evidence of magic that we could not fathom how you do it as mage characters, where it was just like just a few examples of things that are impossible, and we were just like immediately keen to the fact that the place we were in was hella dangerous.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Oh, man.
living creatures that don't actually exist
Sure.
in another dimension where we were now in a time that we couldn't recognize in a place we didn't.
Yeah, it was just like permanent life creations, and then time travel, and then just savage torture and soul theft, and
and sacrifices.
yeah, we had just been sent there by almost at random.
Yeah, like there are things. I'm sorry, I'm gonna always harp on
Yeah.
this mage game because it was one of the best role playing experiences I've ever had, and like that, like every time I hear that Muse song, I don't know what it's. Oh, it's I'll think of it in a second, but that the Muse song that you played when Iron Shackle came out of the ground was like, oh my god, it was timed so perfect. You know what I mean? And I don't know why he screams it. The title of the song.
I think it's called Up, right?
Something
Is that
like
right?
that.
Called
What
now?
did you say, Ebo?
I don't know if it's the right one, but I think it might
Supremacy.
be Uprising. Oh,
It's called Supremacy. Anyways, oh my god, I'm never going to forget that. Not in like a million years. It was like every time I hear that song, it was like playing for a movie trailer, and I always turn to Brit, and I'm like I can imagine like Iron Shackle just like coming into place like right now. You know what I mean? Like that's like how powerful that was.
I will make that my future goal to continue ruining Muse for you.
I don't like particularly go out of my way to listen to Muse. I thought that I forget what the name of the album was, but the one with Absolution and stuff was really good. But yeah, anyway, that was a really well played song.
I want to run a game where I'm not just making stuff up on the fly all the time because I want to be able to use music like that.
Well, you know, if you organize your music folder, you might be able to use that.
Hey, look, for my arena game, the music folder is immaculately organized.
I actually really liked the game that you created that only Jeff and I played and no one else did.
Yeah, I still
And
I
I'm
still
really
know
disappointed
everything.
that you quit that, but whatever.
I still know everything that I know everything about that world, and I have it all like in my brain super clear, and I want to continue that game.
Lee ran a game that had a shtick, and he didn't tell us about it, and there were clearly bizarre things going on, and we never discovered the shtick. The end.
Yeah.
It was basically Jeff and I having a conversation between each other for the entire thing.
That's true.
That's
It
not
was.
true.
It was. The idea was that when I had originally conceptualized the game, I was like, I don't want to run a game like over the internet. I didn't think I could do it at the time. And I was like, but I want to run a game. So I was like, well, I'll run a game with the people that I live with, Jeff and Ebo, and then we'll stream on the internet. And I was like, I think it might have been the first game we streamed. And I was like, this is going to be awesome. And I have this really cool idea, and I came up with all this stuff, and then I never continued it, which was a real stone cold bummer. And it weighs on my brain like really heavily because I have this whole everything that I wanted to do.
There was clearly a plan. There was clearly something that at least I felt like we could figure out given enough time. And that was
Yeah, and that
really
was the
fun.
point. Is like I wanted you guys
And
to
then you
have
took it away from us.
the whole idea of the game was I wanted to recreate something for myself where it's like I have a really limited, like I have an area that I know everything about, and the players can, like there are like these couple things that are like these ideas or these things that are happening, and the players can do whatever they want in it, and I give the players like power, like they were in charge of like one of the 7 major gangs or groups in the area, and I still want to finish or at least recontinue that game sometime in the future. I just have to, deal with the other things that I'm doing first. One day that'll happen. I'm still not going to tell you guys what the plan
That's
was.
every game, really. It's so easy to start a game.
It is.
Yeah.
It's so much harder to continue a game.
Yeah.
See, that's the problem with all these things is we all want to start games now, like even more.
Absolutely. I knew this was going to be a problem, but I didn't want to warn anybody beforehand.
This is
That's actually why I wanted to do it.
This
but
is
whatever.
like, I was just saying, like, this is like getting out of your AA meeting and then, like, somebody offering you a big frothy mug.
It's
And it's like-
so you want to go get a
you're
drink?
like, I spent the whole time
yes.
talking about not drinking, and
I
now
absolutely have to. This is all
No,
I
you're
ever
gonna go-
wanted.
Now I just imagine Ed with that binder under his mattress, like whenever his wife leaves the room to go to the
glad that
bathroom.
came out.
It's a role playing game book. Why is it so perverse to you that I keep it under my mattress and take it out only when my wife isn't looking?
Because that's what happened.
It isn't the action itself is perverse. It's the situation that's perverse about it.
I think we're gonna be able to come up with more stuff to talk about for bonus episodes, but we should probably.
That's true. We should
finish this
continue
one
to
up.
have these.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, eventually we're going to get to a point where no one is hearing the things that we're saying now because people are like, I gave up on this an hour and a half ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like we're already there.
I hope
Okay.
that they at least got through most
We're
of
fear the boot long now. Come on, guys.
Well,
But they're not this long.
that's meta.
Whoa, meta.
Anyway, it's been good.
If you're still listening, check us out at houserule.com. You can send
Bingo.
us an email, houserule@gmail.com. I do check the email. And
He sure does.
Twitter at houserule, role-playing
We
inspirations
also check the Twitter.
on the Tumblr and whatnot. So, come check us out.
Yeah,
Sweet.
We'll respond to you, I promise.
Hell yeah.
We will. And probably serious
Not
things.
just because we're desperate, but also because we love to respond to people.
Never tell people you're desperate when you're desperately. Never.
I said not just because we're desperate.
Later, y'all.
Later.
Bye.
Bye.